Here is the Crescendo Music Education Podcast, episode number 11. This podcast is being recorded on the lands of the Turrbal people. I acknowledge them as the traditional owners of the land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. They were the first music makers on this land. This episode, you'll hear me have a chat to Mark Puddy, an Australian arranger, composer and musician. A lovely, lovely person. I've got to work with him a few times, which is great. His choral compositions are really worth checking out. If you don't know his work, markpuddy.com. We'll put the link to his website in the show notes, but you can Google him, Puddy, Mark Puddy. I think you're going to love listening to what he has to say. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mark Puddy. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Me, I'm pretty awesome. I would like to start by reading out your bio so that people who haven't met you and don't know of your amazing work will get just a little bit of a picture of your background. All right.
Okay.
All right. Mark has worked in music education for the past 37 years. There's nothing wrong with that length of time, is there, Mark? No. And is in demand as a writer and arranger of choral works. He is regularly commissioned to write works for schools and community choirs around Australia. Mark is the resident arranger and composer for the Australian Girls Choir, and this organisation regularly performs his works for children ranging from 5 to 18 years of age. He has published many choral pieces, and his works are performed regularly in Australia and overseas, often appearing in. Now, how do you say the plural of Eisteddfod?
Eisteddfoddau, I don't know. I'm not sure. Just say Eisteddfods. Just say Eisteddfods.
I'll say Eisteddfods, yes.
Yeah.
And other choral competitions as set pieces or as recommended works, or just as works that people choose because they're awesome. That's just the Debbie edit in there. Okay. Mark conducts and tutors the Australian Girls Choir and has been a regular conducting tutor at the Australian Choral Conductors Education and Training Association, whatever they are, for the past 9 years.
ACCET.
We just say ACCET. Where are they based?
It's a Melbourne-based thing run by Faye Dumont.
Oh, fabulous. Okay, I must find out more about that. Teaching conducting to choral directors from around Australia. Mark regularly tours home and abroad with the Australian Girls Choir, often as an accompanist. This, combined with his instrumental experience as a trumpeter, see, I didn't know that till I read this, trumpeter in the Australian Youth Orchestra, South Australian Youth Orchestra and various ensembles, has been invaluable when it comes to working with and writing for ensembles. Mark taught classroom music for 26 years and has been Associate Head of Music at Furbank Grammar School and Wesley College's Elstonwick campus in Melbourne. He was on the staff at Marriotteville High School's Special Interest Music Centre in South Australia. Wow. Now, that's a very impressive bio. Before we go on from that, is there anything else you want to add to that big summary? So you're an educator and you're a composer, but you're also a pianist, musician, arranger, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I guess if you stick around long enough, you build up a set of things that you do. I mean, let's face it, I'm not as young as I used to be, so that's part of it. But I hope I've still got many years left. Still a lot of things to do. There's a lot of. I still think of myself as a work in progress, and that's the exciting thing about music. I think it's the sort of thing that that you can keep doing, hopefully for a long time. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's one of the wonderful things about music, isn't it? You can keep being involved actively right up until the end. So, yeah.
COVID permitting, hey? Yeah.
I mean,
that's
yes.
been an interesting thing, but it's been a cause for reflection the last couple of years. But
it put the brakes on, didn't it? Put the brakes on. Wow.
Very much so.
And you're just recovering yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, I just managed to get the, as they call it, the spicy cough last week. So that was an interesting experience, but fortunately I've been vaccinated. So my wife Vicky, she's still got it pretty badly, but we're both recovering, so that's good.
Thank goodness. Touch wood, as they
Yeah,
say. That's
yeah,
wonderful. Well, I have certainly performed your music and heard of you for a long time, being in the just having a toe in the choral music world. Like when you teach full time, like I do, and choir is part of my work and a part of my work that I love, but you can never. I'm just speaking for myself here, but maybe other music teachers can relate. There's so much to do in our role as a class music teacher that you don't get to play too long in the sandpit of your choirs. I often used to feel I did not do my choral work justice because though it was a passion and I did it, there were so many pressures from the classroom with, assessment and reporting and the huge numbers. So I've always felt part of the choral music world, but a little bit on the exterior, if you know what I mean, because I
yeah.
can never jump in as far as I would like to jump in.
I think time is a big consideration for people in general, but for music teachers, it's a huge factor in coping with what you have to do. There are so many demands on music teachers, and I've experienced that, and time is something that you have to deal with, isn't it? It really is a challenge. Yeah. And I'm not sure how much people understand the sort of pressure on it into producing performances and so on.
Oh, I think there's very limited understanding out there because
Yes.
we really are looked upon as, glorified babysitters, and anybody could do that. And let's just sing a couple of songs. Yeah, sure. Mind you, the answer is if it's that easy, do it yourself. Anyway. But I do think the first time that we actually worked together was in 2017. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And I invited you to come and do Totally Treble, which was the Crescendo Music annual choir-based workshop that I used to run. It again, of course, COVID knocked that one on the head too. We couldn't get together and sing. But every year I used to try to run something for choral directors and music educators here in Brisbane. So you came on up and ran this amazing workshop for us, Totally Treble. It was really, it was a highlight for me. And can I tell you, I'll just share a little personal aside. As I was looking back through the archives for this, I came across a little video, a little snippet. I might even pop it in the show notes for this episode. And it's just a tiny bit of you doing a warm-up with the group. And that warm-up ever since then has been in my standard repertoire. I absolutely love it. Do you want to know which one?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's here. I just call it here and there.
Oh yes, yeah. That's
you know
fun.
what I mean? Oh, and I can tell you where it's magic. I'm at a school now. I only get to teach, work with one choir. We have 5 choirs because music's pretty important at the school I'm at. Thank goodness. But I take the most important choir, the grade 1-2 choir.
Yes.
So I generally have around 90. And we've got this big hall and it's all enthusiastic. And I often start with here, there. And when I had a look back, I thought, oh, I've changed that a little bit. And it morphs and I get the kids to suggest different things. And now that I've talked about that, I guess the listeners will be going, what's that? Would you like to describe it, Mark?
It's basically it's an activity actually that I basically picked up through the years through the Australian Girls Choir and which is part of what we call the Australian School of Performing Arts. There's an emphasis on drama and dance with the girls' choir as well. And one of the things about it is that the theory is get your bodies moving, get people moving around, and they're more likely to sing better, of course. And you know, I mean, we all know that. And it was interesting actually going to the International Choral Conference in 2017 that I went to, which was in Barcelona, and a lot of which is, you know, really top level choirs, but it was really interesting to see the amount of music movement that was happening with the choirs there. And from what I had heard, I think there was more movement, more stage direction and so on than there had been in previous years. So I don't know whether that's, you know, moving in that direction or not, but very much about loosening the bodies, getting people to actually express themselves. Yeah. So
yes, I
think
I
it's a great
loved it.
warm-up activity.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. And the kids just move here one direction. When you say here, they move that direction. When you say there, they move the other direction. And then there's various other things you do. But I always do angels so that they go, oh, and but there's a whole lot of social stuff too. I say to them, just find a group near you to do the angels and put your arms up in the air. And so I actually try and incorporate a whole lot of, you know, I guess finding your singing voice type things within the movements. So it's just lots of fun. Anyway, that's just a little aside, but it was this little bit of gold I picked up from you. I thought that was lovely. So anything else you want to add about your work, or shall we go on to your highlights?
Oh, highlight. Okay.
Now, how hard is that, though, to say your journey as a musician, composer, music educator? What would you say are the highlights of your career so far? So far, lots to go yet.
Yeah. Well, I guess I've been very lucky. I mean, as far as an arranger and composer is concerned, I think the highlights for me have been particularly to start with when music was actually accepted and submissions that I had made, and two people I think are really, well, three people are really involved with that. I think one is we were doing some work at Australian Girls Choir, and I thought, I reckon I can do this stuff, and so I sent some stuff through to Lynn Richardson, who's a fantastic music teacher in Melbourne. And she was sort of in charge of the music side of things at Australian Girls Choir for very many years. Fantastic person. And she accepted it and said, I'd really like to do this stuff. And it was, you know, incredibly validating to hear that. And then I also sent some music through to Morton Music. You know Ralph Morton, who of course has since died, and Graham Morton, his brother. They created an Australian music publishing company called Morton Music, and they accepted some of my music, which again was so exciting to have, you know, your music accepted. Of course, things are different nowadays in that you self-publish, and I think you know, from the point of view of a composer arranger, I think that's fabulous. It means but it does have responsibilities in that you have to be able to market yourself, and I don't think I'm particularly good at that side of things. But anyway, I think those were the highlights for me as far as my choral music's concerned. Yeah, I think I've been very, very lucky having been at the Australian Girls Choir at a particular time when you know, things were opening up as far as that's concerned, and I've had a number of people have a lot of confidence in me, and you know, I'm eternally grateful for that. Yeah,
it is wonderful and well deserved, because your music is so.
Sorry, the other thing I should say also is that it really does give you, and I'm still learning. I mean, there's so many. It's so exciting to be able to try things out and fix them and change them if things don't work according to what the people want as well.
Yes, and that's a huge advantage. Oh, you poor thing.
Sorry.
That's it's okay. We're blaming the COVID. But it is a huge advantage to be able to try things with children first, and being attached to the girls' choir gave you that that little advantage. I don't want to say advantage. It gave opportunity.
Look, I think it really is. I think it really is an advantage. And the other thing is, you're saying being about attached to the things. From a point of view of being attached to the music, you learn pretty quickly that you can't be attached to the music, because if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you might have spent hours on, or quite some time on trying to fix something up and think it's a really beautiful bit of writing that you've done, and people say, no, sorry, doesn't cut it. And that's good. It makes you realise, hang on, in the end, you've got to serve the group that you're writing for, and that's important.
Yes, and it's hard, isn't it? Because it is hard. It's like, like I'm only a teeny toddler baby composer that just paddles a little bit, and you get really, you do get really attached. It feels like it's a part of you, isn't it? Because and that's what music is. Anyway, so yes, I think I agree with that one. When you write, I'm really interested in your writing, in your composition process, and your considerations for when you're writing for kids. So for a start, we've sort of already, in fact, talked around one. It's got to be something that works for the kids. So if you can try it out, that's even better. But how do you approach the composition process? I'd be really interested, and I'm sure there's not like one. This is the formula. Oh, actually, it'd be great if it was. This is the formula. This is what I do. I do A followed by B followed by C followed by D. Done.
But no, it really depends on the work, and I think the important thing is that it's singable. But if you need to know who you're writing for, I think that's the more you know about the group you're writing for, the more chance of success. I mean, there's no point in writing something that's physically impossible for people. If the more, sometimes some of the commissions I get, if all you're told is, oh, could you just write a piece? Then I need more information than that. I think you're more likely for it to be a successful commission and so on. Because there's nothing worse than writing a piece that's never ever used. And I've seen a few of those in my time. And I think that's just really unfortunate that happens, because you want the pieces to be used by various people. I think the other thing I try to do is I'm keen for the piece to be something that not only the kids enjoy performing and can achieve success with, but also that the conductor, the director, actually enjoys working on. Because I think there's nothing worse than being in a situation where you're really sort of having to make you going, oh no, not this piece again, or whatever. Perhaps it won't ever happen again anyway if it's like that. But if you're going to spend a fair bit of time rehearsing and then performing the piece as a director, I think it's fairly important that you like the piece as well. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I thought you were going to say the audience, because
I think if the kids enjoy performing the piece, if the conductor enjoys performing the piece, then I think hopefully that should follow on. But who knows?
It should. No, I love it. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, you want to be passionate about it. You want people to be passionate about it, and if they're passionate about it, hopefully the audience will sense that passion.
Oh, it always comes through. It has to come through. That's what we love about music, isn't it? Do you write much? Because you're talking about commissions, and that's wonderful, and you know who you're writing for. Do you often get struck by the muse and just go, I just want to write this piece and put it out there? But not. Go on.
Yeah, there are times when that happens. I'd say less, more so lately, but if I've got something that keeps going around in my head, I try to write it down, or try to hum it into the phone or whatever it is, or doodle around on the piano and just try to record it somewhere or other and come back to it.
Yeah, put it in there.
Yeah, but there's nothing like a deadline to make
you finish something.
Yeah.
So do you have lots of what I affectionately call UFOs, unfinished objects? Do you have many?
I've got some. Yeah, I've got some. I like UFOs. That's good. Yeah. and then sometimes you come back to them and think, oh, that sounds like something that I've heard before or whatever, or you go back later after you've done a piece and going through some stuff and find, oh, that's that idea that I used a while ago. Yeah.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good.
Or
Now,
that not that I used a while ago, that
okay.
I actually put down somewhere or other. And yeah, that's fascinating when all that happens. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Your
Excuse
website,
me.
you poor thing. No, you have another drink of water. And I'll talk for a little while. I'll talk about rainbows. We sang one of your pieces last year and it was just so beautiful. Loved rainbows. Just thought I'd pop that in. It was lovely.
Oh,
Recommendation.
it went well.
Oh,
Went
it
well.
was beautiful. I must say, okay, I'll tell you, we did it as the mass finale of okay, I have to give you just a little background. We have 2 choral concerts a year, purely choir concerts, the end of semester 1, the end of semester 2. And it was the end of semester 2, and we taught all of the choirs. So we've got it's over a third of the school, 250 kids or something. So right up from my grade 1s up to grade 6s, because we are very fortunate. Our other choirs are conducted by Catherine Really, who is
fabulous. Her works are fabulous.
So works are fabulous. Can I say, as a conductor, she is fabulous. As a person, she is fabulous. Like, just all around fabulous. So she taught all of her choirs. I taught my little kids, and we even had a year 4 boy who's incredibly advanced, who wanted to learn the accompaniment. So he accompanied these hundreds of kids singing, and he did so well, and he followed the conductor. I'm going, there we go. Okay, you'll never be short of a job, kid. So we sang it together, and I will confess I had the best ideas for staging, and then I just did not have the time. I wanted balloons or something in coloured rainbows, across we weren't even sure until the last minute whether we were even going to be able to have a live concert, So but I did imagine somehow having the colourful rainbow, but as it was magnificent musically. I just couldn't make it the visual feast that I wanted to, but no, it just was just beautiful. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. And I should put a plug in there for it's a sort of tinged with sadness, actually, that the bloke who wrote the lyrics, Dinny O'Brien, he is a man that I have written a number of songs with over the years, and I never actually met him. He was I said, I'd love to meet you one day, and he said, you won't, I'm a hermit. He lived in country South Australia. Wow. And he died at the end of last year, so aged 80. But he wrote the most beautiful words, and also wrote some absolutely disgusting ones as well, but which would not be good for children's choirs. But he he had a different way of looking at the world, and rainbows. I discovered he wrote for the funeral of a friend of his. But they're just beautiful words. He's a very talented man.
Yeah. I must admit those words, because I actually taught it I sang it with every class too, because one of the things that I am trying to do now is I do some sort of score. We learn a piece from the score in classroom music, and I start with grade 2. I don't do it with year 1 because our reading skills are still very much developing, but from grade 2 up, and I teach them to just follow the top line of the system. I figure I'm going to make sure all of the kids get this beautiful.
Right.
Oh, why is my printer whirring? Sorry if that's coming out over the.
I can't hear it. No,
Good. We'll pretend that didn't happen. But we had, speaking of the lyrics, we had some very interesting conversations about what the words might mean. And for those people who are listening, it was about rain. I guess the main theme is rainbows can be people. People are rainbows.
Yeah.
You know,
which is why I sent it to you in the first place, because I know you're the rainbow lady. That's what I,
thank you.
That's been the thing that's all, and I immediately thought of you. But I think perhaps I should just read those words. I've just sort of
yes,
found
please. Thank you.
Rainbow, rainbows are bridges that hold dreams together, colours suspended in fairy flossed skies, rainbows dancing in time to the weather, bring the wonder of light to their eyes. I just think it's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, thinking of rainbows as bridges, you know, it's just a great idea.
Yes, and what the kids come up with, what do you think that means? I just love the things that children say.
Yeah,
and they
talented man.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Anyway, so that was a little bit of a side note there, but some people listening might want to go and look that up on your website, which is incredibly easy to navigate with samples of your scores and the music. It must have been really time consuming to put your website together.
It was.
Has it been like a labor of love?
Yeah, particularly when I'm not I'm not the most savvy person when it comes to things online and so on. But I was also very lucky. I had an upgrade, sort of spent a bit of money upgrading it in the end of 2018 and 19. Really didn't do much about it until COVID came in. We were, you know, in Melbourne, the most lockdown city in the world, apparently. That's what people are saying. I don't know whether it's true, but there was a good amount of time in 2020 when I could really spend quite a lot of time reviewing stuff and fixing some stuff up. It's still a work in progress. I don't know how easy it is to sort of navigate through, but anyway, you give it your best shot, don't you? It's a bit hard.
I find it quite easy to navigate. So whatever path you're on, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I still think word of mouth is the most effective way of selling stuff, but you can't. That's a hard thing to do. But you know, it's amazing how much business. Also, things like, you know, workshops, whatever. Word of mouth, should never disregard that. I think
no, it's about personal connection too, I think.
Yeah, and I think what I used to like doing, which I haven't done for the last couple of years very much at all, is actually going out and visiting people and playing through some stuff and so on. That seems to me a very effective way of doing things, but it's physically not possible. So, yeah.
No, we'll have to wait for a bit. And when it's possible, come up to Brisbane again. We'd love that.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah, that'd be great. And now you've already talked about some people in your life, but can you tell us about someone or someones who've been very influential in your life, personal or professional, or both?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this. You know, I mentioned Lynn Richardson and her support of me with the Australian Girls Choir. Also, there was a music teacher I had at school. The school I went to was an all-boys school in Adelaide. I'm from Adelaide originally. And a man called John Drake. And he was an amazing man. He was very, very humble, very flexible musician. Just saw music as good or bad, you know. Didn't matter what style it was. He was very, very flexible, and he was a lovely man. You know, we'd be doing school musicals, we'd then be studying, I don't know, Schoenberg, Berg, that sort of stuff for year 12. Real mixture of stuff. Very talented man. Margaret Lambert, who I taught with, she was my head of music at Marrickville High School, which is one of 4 special interest music schools in South Australia. Margaret was incredibly supportive of me over the years. And then when I moved to Wesley, she and I moved at the same time, moved over to Victoria.
That's such a cool team, hey?
Yeah, well, the principal of Wesley was a man called Glenn MacArthur, who's one of the few principals I've ever come across who really understood the arts, and he was just amazing. Yeah, rest his soul. Glenn MacArthur was just brilliant, but he was very supportive of the arts.
Wow.
Understood it all. AGC staff, there's so many staff on the AGC and students who you just learn a lot from. You really do. And I see the youngies, because I'm an old old fogey now in the organisation, but you see some of the clever teaching that people are doing. People have come through; they're just incredible, and you just think, why? Wow, I would never have thought of teaching a song that way, but isn't that brilliant? So that's very exciting. Vicky King, who is my wife now, we got married in last year in January. Vicky has been in. She's just again a very, very humble person, and never blows her own bags, but just knows so much and is able to do so much in so many different areas. She's very, very a very important part of my life, professionally as well as personally. Yeah. And then finally, there was a guy who was actually my football coach in Year 10, a guy called Mike Coward, who's I
wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, no, I was right into sport, and I still am in a big way. But Mike was my football coach, and he was a very well-respected Australian cricket journalist. He's still alive, cricket and football journalist, and he was my footy coach. But he the thing that he really made clear to me, I think, was there's a world of possibility out there. Just so positive about doing things, and really going for it, and such a supportive person. So all these people have been really supportive of me in a lot of ways. So
that sounds wonderful. Yeah.
And then there's people like you, Debbie. You're supportive of all sorts of people in your community. Yeah, and I don't think you should ever underestimate just how important it is to support people like that, and in different ways, and don't ever underestimate what it is that you're doing in the music community.
Thank you, Mark. I think it's really essential that we help each other, and that's I don't know. That's what's the purpose if we're not doing that? Just that connection, which I think the next thing I was going to ask you about is gratitude, but I think that's partly been answered too, hasn't it? Because it's gratitude for those people, and then the network, and and do you know what it's about? That's what choir, that's what's beautiful about choir too. Like I don't have the skill, talent, wonderfulness to ever be a soloist. But I tell you what, I'm a bloody good choir member, and in a choir, we make the most beautiful music together. We are capable of so much more together. I'm sorry, that's getting very deep and philosophical, but
spot on.
Yeah, but that's why one of the reasons I love choir.
And I think that's one of the sadnesses of the last couple of years, is just how much that was threatened by COVID.
Yes.
We had so many Zoom classes in 2020 and 2021, and it was really hard work, but ultimately it kept the groups together, and that was really, really important, and it's just ironic, isn't it, that choir was one of the things that was really, really hit.
Yes. And of course for us, that's highlighting its importance. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about that professionally, and what we can do to help support the promotion of singing together for well-being. It does lots of other things. Of course, I'm a music educator. Of course, I think it does, but it's that well-being. So did you want to add anything else about gratitude in there before we get on to my favourite bit?
I just think I'm very lucky that I'm able to make a living from making music. I think somehow, it's just very lucky.
It is pretty fortunate, isn't it, to make a living doing something you love. Oh, you poor thing. Thank you. I want to say publicly, thank you for doing this interview.
All this talking.
All this talking. I know. Okay, we're nearly done. All we've got left, really, nuggets of fabulous. All right. So people listening, they would love to hear your little nuggets of fabulous. Now, I consider you a music educator, and you certainly have worked in the classroom, but you are tending to work more now. You work with choirs and children in the choral situation. So you take this question however is best for you. Maybe it's about when you're working with the kids, or in a workshop or in a warm-up or whatever's best for you. But 3, give or take, could just be 1 if you want. A nugget of fabulous to share with people who are listening, who want to go and try something new with their kids.
Sure. Well, I think one thing is resources, and you know, we have a lot of young teachers at choir and so on. But I think the actual resource of VoiceWorks, a handbook for singing by Peter Hunt, is a really great resource to have on board.
Yes,
you know, I don't
it
know
is
how much
amazing,
it costs
isn't
these
it?
days, but probably close to $200, which people think, gee, that's a big outlay, but you can do all sorts of things with that. It's got so many activities and so many things that you can photocopy legally that people can work with. But more importantly, I think even if it was just the first, I don't know how many pages it is of warm-ups and concepts and approaches to teaching, singing are really good. Mark O'Leary put me onto this book years ago, and shout out to Mark, because he's doing fabulous work, and I've always held him in very, very high esteem. But that VoiceWorks, I think, is a fantastic book. And, you know, because you do need resources as a teacher, let's face it.
And it is a great resource.
When you're starting. Yeah,
I agree.
As far as activities are concerned, well, sort of rounds, I guess that it depends on the age group that you're taking, but I sort of got 3 go-to rounds. I was thinking about this morning when you'd sent me through the stuff. There's an a Melbourne composer called Grant Ward.
Oh, isn't he just amazing?
Yeah. A spin round, a book of rounds and so on. And I think there's a round that people all over the place use, and they have no idea that he's actually written it. But it's called do. I'm even not sure what it's called, but
I think it's called do.
Yeah, a do. And just check out that last line, because people often get that wrong. Excuse my voice, but
I think you're doing well.
It's just a great round, and you can use it in so many different contexts, and it's something that's easy. If you're doing a workshop, you can teach it in 2 seconds, and people can get in less than 5 minutes a satisfying musical outcome.
Yes, and I think that book, Spin Round, that it's from, gold. I mean,
yeah, there's 2. He's done 2.
Yes, he's got the second
really
one.
Good.
Yeah. So we'll put the links to those. Obviously,
so it's his website's called Seize the Tune. Seize the Tune, and Grant's a very clever man, and we're very lucky to have him working with the Australian Girls Choir. A very humble man as well. There's a man called Peter Butler from, he lives in country Victoria, and one of his rounds called A Young Man from Perth. I just love that round. It's a limerick. There was a young man from Perth who, who was born on the day of his birth. He was married, some say, on his wife's wedding day, and he died on his last day on earth. And Peter's just sent just their quirky, daggy words that I really like, and I think they're a bit of fun. And often if I'm working with a group, it's really interesting to see the kids who react to that straight away, and you think, oh yeah, you're on the ball if they see how funny and
I haven't seen Peter for many years. Shout out to Peter. Yes, he's got some lovely little things he's written.
And another round that I use is, it's actually from a Telemann rondo. So this would be for slightly older kids, but you can use it with younger kids as well. And Telemann wrote this series, I think, of 6 canonic sonatas. So that you just get this. They're 3 movement pieces. He wrote 6 of them, like they're full on.
Wow.
And each of them work as a canon at the bar. Each movement of each sonata. So,
okay.
Yeah. But there's a particular theme that I heard years ago. I heard a woman I used to work with at Marrittville, Jane Brightoak it was, not sure what Jane Varnish, that's right, Jane Varnish. She played it on recorder. She was a Baroque recorder specialist, and probably still is. But I heard this piece, and then I heard it played by 2, this particular movement played by two euphonium players from the British brass band tradition, and they were fabulous. I can't remember the names of the guys,
Wow.
but anyway, I thought the theme was a really good one, and it's one that I've used quite a bit teaching to people, because you can use Kodai rhythm, Kerwin rhythm syllables and so on with it, and it really works very nicely.
Oh, that sounds fabulous. I will have to.
Yeah, and so I could provide you with a link for that too. Yeah.
Please, would love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so they're my, I don't know, nuggets of, what do you call them? Nuggets of fabulous.
Fabulous. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
But a lot depends on what you feel comfortable teaching too, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. But there's some gems in there. So thank you. Things people can chase down if they haven't seen them before. And I know that what's taking up a lot of my spare time at the moment is what I would consider my fight for music education.
Yes.
And without going into lots of details, I think that we are actually fighting for the existence of our profession. And part of that fight is around advocacy. We know how important we are because we know all of the huge advantages for children, and removing music education from their school life, their early childhood and childhood, is just a huge mistake.
Yes.
We know that, but of course, not everybody knows that. So would you have any advice around advocacy? Just general advocacy, sending the message.
I think the really important thing is to be part of a group of people, like-minded people, who can combine to get the message across, which is one of the things excuse me. The Kodai Khmer, as we call it, is one particularly fantastic group that have done continue to do magnificent work, and I think the message that they combine together with to make all sorts of suggestions have been very important. I think ANCA, the Australian National Choral Association, is another group that it's very important that people are members of those two groups in particular. Of course, the Ulf Schulwerk community as well. There's another group. I think individually it's a struggle, but if we combine with these particular, become members of these particular groups, you've got a chance of getting some messages across.
Yes. Again, we've come back to this more powerful together. We're better together theme. Exactly. Yeah, I love it. And I do so appreciate you sticking this long with your coping with your post-COVID voice. You're doing super well. But there's just one more that I like to ask my chat guests. Your opportunity to get on your soapbox. So to whoever is listening, and to finish off this interview, it's a little bit like, starting and ending with music, but it's a bit too tricky via Zoom to do that. I think if there was one message that you could tell the world, what would it be, the most important thing that you want to say? Are you ready? Okay. Okay, ready?
No pressure.
Okay, no pressure. Go.
I think as a music teacher, make sure you're enjoying the music yourself, and remember it's about that music. It's not about you. It's actually about the music when you're teaching. So that's where the magic happens, is with the music. And I think sometimes we get so worked up about, trying to teach it a particular way and doing all this sort of stuff, and making sure that how we teach is important, but the important thing is that there's passion and that there's enjoyment all round. That's my message for what it's worth.
Oh, I love it. And I think it's actually a perfect message to finish on. So thank you so much for your time. It's just been a pleasure, Mark. Love talking to you, and hopefully we'll see you in Brisbane in real life soon.
Debbie, thank you so much. I hope that's been what you were after. But it's been really nice. It's been really nice to catch up again. So you take care. Hey?
Excellent. You too. Bye.
Bye.
As we know, laughter relieves stress. Don't lose sight of the funny side of life. What's the difference between a hippo and a zippo? One is really heavy and the other is a little lighter. Thank you so much for watching our Crescendo Music Education podcast. For more information about all things Crescendo, including membership and music education resources, visit us at crescendo.com.au. Don't forget to like and subscribe.